To live stream the meeting, and it's streaming. We are back. We are live, and we are to Q&A. I am so happy to have you here, Purpose-Filled Women. We are going to share this in the Purpose-Filled group so that you can have this. If you have any questions today throughout, feel free to put them on the Facebook group or wherever you're at, and we will try to take those and look at them and then put them on here so we can answer them. So we are so excited today to talk about balance in motherhood. Oh yeah, is there such a thing? We do not know. That's why we call it balance redefined. Redefined as in I'm in my closet hoarding chocolate. That's my definition of being balance redefined. So it is Maycember for most of us where we're doing kids and school. And I don't know about you, but have you felt like we have come out of COVID with a bang? Like I thought maybe we would ease out of COVID and we would say, we have learned many wise lessons from COVID. Are we going to apply those lessons? Oh, no. We are jumping right back in sports and recitals and dance step and it is insanity. I don't know about you, but I am really struggling with feeling happy about that because it is up to us to change the rhythm. It's up to us to change. I feel like, I'm sorry, I got that Michael Jackson thing to make a change. What? Anyway, it's up to us to make a change. And I'm looking at the man in the mirror and I'm saying it starts with me. But I am thinking in order for us to change the dynamic and not succumb to every single activity and expectation, we have to get secure in who we are and what we're to do as a mom and what we will and won't do in our schedule and for our children in our situation. And I think a really important piece of that is being able to say to ourselves, I know what we're going to focus on as a family, whether it's for May, whether it's for the next 3 months or 6 months, I know what we're to focus on. And so therefore I can stiff arm any of those requests that do not meet those expectations and will not help my family move forward. So I invite you, first and foremost, before we get to some of the questions, I invite you to consider what is that plan for you and your family? What are the core yeses and the core nos for you and your family? What will you do and what won't you do in the next month to 3 months to make this transition from going out of school and going into summer? And we have some cool things happening because things are kind of getting back to normal. So that's awesome. We're going to be able to go to the swimming pool and have all these cool things and go on vacations. But I would just encourage you to consider what are the lessons that you learned from COVID about connection, about being able to have downtime, about being able to have time to process and think. And what does that look like transitioning now to post-ish COVID, where you are now being able to have more autonomy of, what do I do with our time, myself and my family? Okay. I would so invite you to consider those questions and really nail down some answers. Do you need downtime every day? Do you need 15 minutes or 30 minutes of just laying on your bed, phone off, do not bother me? Do you need that? Do you need a day off a week or in the morning? Do you need to be able to say, I need to get out of this house one night a week? What is it that you need personally? And then what do your children need? Do they need one-on-one time together? Do they need family time that's more consistent because now it's kind of going by the wayside? What is it that your kids need in order to flourish? So just a couple of thoughts there. Anybody have any thoughts that come right off the top of their head of like, oh my gosh, I know I'm going to stay firm on X, Y, and Z so that I know that myself and my kids will be able to flourish in the next few months and not be drowned by all of the to-dos and the things that feel and seem and are justifiably so much. Any thoughts from anyone? It's not very specific, but I always get a feeling when things are becoming too much. Yes, it's that feeling. And it's, I don't know for you, but I start to get like annoyed and I start to feel like I can't breathe sometimes. And like, I don't even know what day it is. Yesterday, I was like, what day is it? What day is it? I didn't even know what stinking day it was. It was ridiculous. So I know that it will become too much. And I decide to set boundaries, to say no or reschedule so I'm not doing everything at once. It seems like every child has something they need at once, and then I could be invisible in between. I try to moderate that. Oh, I love that. We are totally invisible in between. They could care less about what we're doing. And then all of a sudden it's, Mom, I need poster board. Mom, I got to have a ride here. Oh, and did I tell you I need to be also picked up even though somebody else dropped me off? And you're like, I got 2 other people to take. But anyway, you're exactly right. And I think another great thing is to remember that just because somebody invites it to be on your schedule doesn't mean it has to be there. right? Even if it seems like a good and worthy thing. In my church, we have this thing called activity days, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I wasn't sure if my son was going to be able to do it. And he had activity days and jujitsu, and he wasn't kind of feeling his best. And I was like, ah. So we just went through everything, said, what is going to work today? What feels right? And not feeling guilty, like, oh my gosh, we're paying for those lessons, or oh my gosh, he needs to go and support his activity days group, right? Just being able to go through and say, what's going to work for us today? And again, we're not willy nilly, like we're just throwing things out and saying, too bad for you. We said we'd come and we're not. But it's more of being able to just get that clarity and that sanity. Absolutely love that. And that invisible in between. Oh my gosh, let's address that in a second. I really, really love that because I think that's where moms start to feel like a non person, where you're only there to fill needs. And well, let's address it now. One thought to not be the invisible mom, I think, is to be able to set your expectations and then to say what works for me is. So, like, my kids were all needing to go blah, blah, blah the other day. And I was like, kids, I did not say what works for me. I should have, but I said, I love and adore you. But I mean, I've been going all day, taking and doing and blah, 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 blah. And then my son was like, I need you to come find this Bakugan for me because I lost it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, darling, I cannot do that for you right now. Okay. I have been going since 6 o'clock this morning and I need to sit down or I'm going to lose it. I love you. Try to find it yourself. I'm laying down for 15 minutes. And I did. And he respected it and he found it. And what did he do? He prayed. He prayed and he found Bakugan and he came in and he said, prayer works. Super. So I let him do his thing and he had a spiritual experience. All right. That's how to mother, right? Gonna apply more of that for myself. All right. I love this. I have to enact the digital sunset that we talked about last month. I love that. Now, can you elaborate a little bit more about the digital sunset and explain that to the sweet women?
Yeah. So last month we had one of our gals share that what her family does is at 9:30 at night, their phones go to sleep. All their electronics go to sleep, and then they spend time together as a family. And for me, it's a personal digital sunset that I do a little habit on my phone, a little habit tracker. And one of it is family time, where it's a full hour of being fully present with my family. And so I'm trying to do that better. The other thing I do is I put my phone to sleep at a certain time at night so that if I get calls or texts, unless it's emergency from my VIP that I'm going to get, but even then that way I can just relax, because when there's a lot going on, like there is right now, then I don't need everything screaming. I need to be able to rest, let my brain recharge, and then face it in the morning. So that's what I've had to do. And that's been very helpful for me.
Love, 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 love. That is a beautiful way to disconnect from the noise and be able to reconnect to what matters most with our family, with ourselves. And I think coming post-COVID, help me to know if I'm not seeing this right. I think it's such a key piece for peace to be able to stay in those rhythms and grooves that we know work and not sacrificing them. That time in the morning, that ponder prayer, and maybe it's scripture, and then it's during the day. I actually, to get a better pause in life, to actually get one better and do it better, I actually got a pause app. And now I have set the timer. I get a little notification at 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock that reminds me it's time to take a pause. And they even have like a little meditation video thing if you want to watch it or whatever. And it's so beautiful. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, okay, and then I'm going to this thing. And then I see take a pause and I go, oh, almost like it gives me permission to sit down and take a rest. And I'm like, nope, taking a 15-minute pause. And it's so beautiful. So that's something to consider, is where are the pauses in your day? Where are those pauses where you know you need to stop dealing out all your energy all the time? Stop, pull it back in and reset. What are those pauses like for you? What do they look like? What could they look like? What do you want them to look like? I love this. Mine is always right before my kids come home. Yes, that 2:30 to 3 for me is, I'm trying to keep that a little bit of that golden time where I can just rest and reset before phase two. And they are upon me, right? Maybe consider that. I know at night I'm getting better at being able to say, okay, we're doing scripture and family prayer earlier so that you can all do your thing and do your evening routine. I have a daughter who does it forever, doing the face and everything. I'm like, what do you do in there? I mean, I'm old and I still don't do that much, but I love that she has a rhythm and a routine, and that's part of her hygiene, her night hygiene, where she's got this routine, and it helps her to go to sleep and it helps her to feel like all is well. And I've realized I need to keep that rhythm too. I do that. We do our family stuff. And then I say, everybody love you. Mom's writing in her journal, and I do my gratitude journal. And then I go cuddle with my little guy. So I have this sort of like, it's down, down, down. And then we are quiet and going to sleep. So something to consider. One last thing is, where do you do what you do? This is a really important piece. Where do you rest? Where do you sleep? Where do you work? Where do you do creative things? And some of you are probably saying, like, all in the same room. Like, I don't have any space for all these cool things. So consider what that looks like. I am trying to be better about not doing things on my bed. I love my bed. My bed is beautiful and it is like my happy place. I just like, oh, it's like quiet and comforting and it's gorgeous and it's just beautiful. But I'm trying to be better at going to other spaces for reading a book or being able to do my creative writing, or I come in the office for the work stuff. So I'm trying to be much better about those spaces. And I know lots of studies back that up, that your mind and body and soul create that memory, that cell memory of what you do, where you go somewhere. So like one lady was talking about doing meditation. She's like, I sit in my bed and do meditation, but I fall asleep. And the point was made, well, what do you do in your bed? You fall asleep. So your whole body is wired to go to sleep. So meditate in the chair instead of on your bed. So it's something to consider. Look at the spaces where you do what you do. And maybe if you piece that out a little more, you can take those natural pauses because your body will get in that mode before you even get there. You're like, oh, I'm taking my pause today. I'm going to go sit in my chair instead of I'm going to stay in the office and just go, okay, I'm going to take a little pause. I'm actually going to physically move from here and go and take a pause for 15 minutes, put on my timer, and then I can come back and do what I'm doing here, if that makes sense. So I love those comments. I bookend my day, but when I get the feeling that I have to step back, I go in my room for a few minutes or the bathroom, the last sanctuary of every woman. Exactly. Lock on the door and pray and be quiet and listen. Yes, I love that. It is that feeling of that sacred space that you create, whether it's in your car, whether you drive to a park and you just park there for a minute, but you create the sacred space of being able to come back and reset so you're ready for the next phase. I love it. There is power in making an actual physical shift. There really is. That's exactly right. And I know that we can feel it. When you go into certain rooms in the house, there's a feel. When I go into the kitchen, there's an energy and there's a feel. When I go into our living room, there's an energy and a feel. So consider what those spaces look like and maybe choose a different space to do your pause. All right, any other questions or thoughts? I would love to hear them on balancing, especially right now. What are you doing to create balance, or what are the challenges that you're experiencing in creating a balance? Any thoughts on that? Any other suggestions or insights or any other questions on how to do that?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you move past or push through that feeling of personal responsibility versus I really need this for myself and I need to step back? How do you balance that? Balance is the wrong word, but I think you know what I
How
mean.
you prioritize that?
Yeah.
And do you mean like with children or commitments or other people? If I understand you correctly, you're saying, how do I balance this personal responsibility, like that I have for myself and then have for other people? Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, so like with my work, I don't have children yet, but with my work and with responsibilities to my husband and just to my home, cooking meals and all of that, where do I find that balance or prioritization of that's your time, this is my time? How do I switch hats?
Yes. I call it kind of switching gears, right? Because we've got these different gears. We've got the mom gear, we got the wife gear, we got the whatever, we got the worker gear, the business owner, the whatever. We got all these gears, right? And the car still is running. So we just have to decide which gear we're going to go in. I love that question of what's my time, what's your time? And I would go back to, I shared this on Studio 5 and I have a free download on my website. If you go to conniesokol.com, it's in the spotlight, but it's on 5-finger living. And you're probably familiar with it because I know you're familiar with my stuff, but the 5-finger living, I forget this stuff sometimes. I mean, I'm living it, but I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good tool. How come I stopped using it? So I started using it again. But it's pretty much innate in what I do, but it's always good to tidy. But that's taking 5 areas of your life. So maybe it's your husband and your work and your home, and you know what I mean? So whatever it might be, and put those on your finger. And then get kind of a mindset of what that might look like. So for me, every day I do something for God, myself, my family, my purpose, and then service. So I'm doing something in each one of those. I'm not doing them all day. I wish my kids wished that I would, but I'm not going to do them all day. I'm doing a little bit here and there so that by the time my head hits the pillow, I feel like, generally speaking, I attended to things that mattered most. And that's what matters most to me. Even if it was a crazy day and even if the dishes are still in the sink, I got those things attended to. So you could try that, start with 5 areas of where you're going, okay, these 5 areas are the things that are most important. And when you go through the day, you just kind of look at your hand and go, oh, where am I at? Have I done something for my purpose? Have I done something for myself? Maybe I need to just take a rest right now. So that's one way to do it. Another is to have a great conversation with the people involved. So it would be maybe with your husband of what is the most important thing for them? What is the most important use of time for them about you? There was a time I remember talking with my kids and I just felt like there was way too much to do. And I was attending to things, but I just kind of felt like that it was never enough. Anybody ever felt that way with your kids? It's like you're doing and doing, and then it's never enough. Feel a song coming on, whatever. Greatest Showman. Anyway, I felt like that. And I was like, I am working it here like a hamster on the treadmill. And you are like, hey, hey, that's how it felt. Until I had a conversation with them and said, what is the number one way that you feel loved by me? What is the number one thing you need from mom this week on the daily? What do you need from me? And it was amazing. Sometimes it was, I just need you to listen to me. Sometimes I just need you to make my snacks. My daughter, she's like, if you could just make me egg and toast in the morning and do that, that would make me feel so good. She doesn't want me to help her get ready. She doesn't want me to help me other things. She wants me to be the invisible mom at that moment, right? Especially when her friends come around. No, I'm kidding. She's really sweet. She loves to involve me. So she's really sweet. Golden child. But I realized that's how she wanted me to be with her. So case in point, she went to prom, just a little bit ago. And she was like, Mom, we've made all the arrangements that the other girls, the 2 other girls that are in my group, we're all going to go to this friend's house. We're all going to get ready together. And I'm like, that's awesome. So we've invited the moms to come. And I'm like, that's even more awesome. Wow, did I feel loved, right? So we're driving over and I'm like, how do you want me to be supportive? Like, what do you see my role as? Because she's going on about how she's doing her hair, how she's going to do her makeup, how she's going to do it. And I'm like, what do I bring in snacks on a tray? Like, what do you want me to do? So I was like, how do you see me being for you today to support you in this? And she looked at me, she said, well, just cheer me on. I loved it. I was like, how do I cheer you on for 3 hours while you're getting ready? Go, go, go. Hand you a Q-tip, right? Well, it turned out beautiful. We ended up going into the master bath of this gal's house, and she had in her master bedroom that was connected, had this chaise. Her and I sat down, like, and had a chat like a house on fire. It was awesome. And they'd come out and they'd say something. We'd be like, yeah, that looks good. And they'd go in, and then I would iron her dress. It was so fun. But the point being, I asked her how she wanted to see, how she saw me supporting her and how she needed and wanted to be supported. And that helped. And now in the morning, when she doesn't want me talking to her because she's getting up, like she just gets up slow, she just wants egg and toast. And that makes her feel loved. And I'm like, okay, you got it, egg and toast. And I'll go back to my life, citizen. So just a thought, you can ask those that are involved, how do you want me to support you? What is the one way that matters most to you for me to support you right now, for me to show you love, right? And if we find that out, maybe that would detail that just a little bit more. And then you can even give, like, for your husband, give your top 3, right? And just say, okay, what's the top 3 things? And then I would communicate also, this is what matters to me. These are the top 3 things for me. You don't even have to ask someone to show you the love or to do the thing for you, but you can just make them aware. These are the top 3 things for me. So just know every day my focus, I'm going to do something cute for you. And this is what I'm going to do because you just told me what it was. And now I'm going to share with you, these are the things that are really important to me, especially this week. So that's where a lot of my focus is going to go. So if you need something more from me, I need you to express it to me. But this is what I need this week. Because don't we have, like, some weeks we're just like, I am done. Like, you go week after week after week, and then you are maxed and you're like, I need to rest like every single day this week. So sandwich stuff is in the fridge. I love you. And if I don't rest, I'm going to lose a gasket, right? So it is being able to say, this is what I need this week. This is what can happen for me. This is what I'm focused on. Tell me what I can do to support you, blah, blah, blah. But having that communication and then no guilt. Being able to say, I have clearly stated what is my reasonable request. And I have listened and am respecting your reasonable request. And that's what we can expect from each other. So beyond that, it's all bonus, right? That celebrity that said, when my husband gets home and the kids are alive, I've done my job, right? Yeah, like that. I love this. I prefer rhythm. It may be different at different times, but there's always a pace, a beat, whether fast or slow to my moments. If I'm balanced on both feet, I'm not going anywhere. I keep deciding what my soundtrack will be. Ooh, I like that. Internal check-ins and vocalizing expectations. Love it. Great. And I love those internal, and I think so much of the time, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I've gotten pretty good at being able to verbalize what I need and being able to move forward on it. But even then, I still sometimes have a hard time giving myself permission to take it, permission to say, it is okay for me to put myself first, seemingly today, where it's not first. I just get a piece of the mom pie too. And it's me not saying I don't get any of that. So I really think it's us giving each other our permission to be able to say, my focus and my balance is just as important as everybody else's. And in fact, I would say even more so, because as a mom, you're the hub. And as a mom, you're the one that's the train station and sending everybody out. So it's so important that they get, oh, mom's a person and she actually requires rest and food and sleep on occasion. So like, wow, she's like a human being. And I do that to my kids, where I make them think I'm the Energizer Bunny because I go and do all the time. So I think it's a beautiful moment when we allow our kids that opportunity to respect. We're clear in what we need, and we give them the opportunity to respect that and say, I'm so sorry that you need that right now. Right now, I really need to go rest for 15 minutes, but then I'm right back with you. So just some thoughts. Love, any other thoughts? Any other questions? We have about 5 minutes. Any other thoughts that you want to share?
I have a quick question. What's your biggest tool to help like rid or calm the mom guilt?
Oh, to eliminate that guilt, I keep going back to that scripture. If you know of the Book of Mormon, I go in there and it's Enos, and he's praying and he's trying to have his guilt taken care of. And I love this scripture because he says that a voice came to him and said, Enos, you're forgiven, right? Like it's all good. And he said, and my guilt was swept away. And he just let it be swept away. He didn't go back and dig it up. He didn't go back and think, well, was that the right thing? Did I hear that right? But what about this one thing? He didn't question it. He just accepted it for what it was and said, great. And what did that do? That cleaned out that space for him to focus on others. Then he started praying for others, and it was beautiful. And he did not go back. So for the mom guilt, I would invite you to, first of all, get right with God and just say, I just would love a check-in with you. I just need to know how I'm doing here, because I'm losing it. I'm feeling kind of like the weight of the world, and just thinking of the future success of these human beings. So just check in with God and just get a feel. Say, I would just love to know your thoughts and feelings about me right now as a mom. I would love to know it. And just know it's going to be loving and beautiful, because that's what he is. He's loving and beautiful. We're harder on ourselves than he is. And then second, I would do what I did years ago, was create a mom list. There have been times, even in the last couple of years, where I have literally gone into my journal on a tough day and I have said, you know what? I am a stinking awesome mom. You know why? And I start writing it down in the journal of why I am so awesome, because nobody else was telling me that. And I was like, this is a job where you don't get a whole lot of validation a lot of the time. So I would just start writing down, this is what I'm doing well with my kids. This is what I'm doing. This is what I do one-on-one times. I make them meals. I do yummy snacks that they love. I get their favorite things at the grocery store. I'm patient when they go on and on. Last night, we're sitting in family scripture study, and I kid you not, we're trying to do it. And one of my girls is wanting to get to bed. So she wants to do it quick, and she's the one that's leading it out. And then my little guy comes in, and you know what it's like when they're 9, and they have a story for everything, and it's all detailed. And it was a red card. No, it wasn't a red card. Let me go check in my room and see if it's a red card. And I can see my daughter is like, and she is ready to blow. She's just like, oh, and I'm breathing and I'm breathing. And he's taking his time and I'm nodding. And I'm like, I need you to get to the point, get to this story. Yeah, remember we're talking about this. Thank you so much. This is so great. And she looks over at me, and then he turns and does something else. And she looks at me and she goes, how? And I said, I've been through seven of you guys. I get it. She was dying. She was so done with the detail. And she was like, just be quiet. She's like, I just want to tell him to shut up. But she was like, I can't say that, right? Because we don't say shut up in our house. So anyway, she was just like, oh, but it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment, because in that moment, I saw her appreciation. And because I saw her appreciation, I appreciated me. And I went, yeah, I am patient. I don't rip people's eyeballs out because they're going on and on forever. I am actually kind and listening and loving. Wow, stellar for mom today. Wrote that in the journal. So anyway, something to consider, writing down a list of all the things you do well, because I guarantee most people are not going to make that list for you. And that is a really good thing to alleviate the mom guilt. Because when you start seeing the spreadsheet, you go, you're lucky you're alive. You are lucky that I have kept you fed and clothed because you require so much. I love my children. Let me just make a disclaimer. I love them fiercely. But being a mom is exhausting. That's just part of the package. So I think this mom guilt thing is first listing the things you do well. Then second, where's the guilt stemming from? What's the trigger? What's the hot button, right? I remember at one point I had a trigger for women that were awesome gourmet cooks. And I am not. I'm a B pluser, down and dirty. Let's make the meal. Let's eat the meal, right? And so I had this trigger, and I knew that it was a thing, and I was kind of in an environment that was kind of encouraging that sort of feel. And I really had to get to the point of that guilt and go, wait a second. What's the thing that's important to me? Do I need to have a beautiful spread with matching plates and then 3 stacks of plates, and then they have all that, and it's pretty napkins and stuff? No. So I let go of the guilt, and we do paper plates daily. And then when it's like dinner or a nice thing, then we'll do regular plates, but it's paper plates, people. And it has saved my sanity. So I would go to the trigger of the guilt. Is it because you feel guilty because it's something you feel you should shift? Or is it something that someone else is making you feel guilty? Or are you comparing? And that's why I would get back to those people that are involved in the thing, what matters most to them. And if it's mostly you and your husband or you and your kids, get clear on what it is that's making you feel guilty, and is it even necessary? Appropriate guilt is a great warning system of, hey, you need to spend more time with your kids, or hey, you need to slow down and take time for your health, or whatever it is. Good, appropriate guilt gives us a little warning and makes us feel like, I want to solve this. I want to do something about it. But inappropriate guilt just makes us feel shamed, makes us reach for chocolate bars, makes us be like forage in the kitchen, makes us just walk around and have people try to validate us. I'm a good mom, right? You think I'm a good mom, right? Right? That's inappropriate. So we can just get to the root of the guilt, and then we can clean it out and say, what is this? Is this just a prayer thing? Is this a new solution thing? Is this, I need to have a chat thing? What is this, so that we can kind of ameliorate that guilt? So that's just a few thoughts. Any thoughts from anyone else? Great question. We all have that question, right? We all have it, even when we think we're on top of it. And then here comes the guilt train coming back through the station. Any other thoughts? My daughter stormed out because she was bored. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Or they're like, how much longer is this going to go on? It's been 5 minutes, right? Oh my gosh. I think that can work for any guilt. I love that list idea. Oh, thank you. I love that. My journal is just my happy place. It helps me recenter and remember what I'm doing well in any area, and give my little love gift to me. Guilt is painful. Like pain, it's a signal to us to act. Yes. And so often I feel like we women carry the guilt without even a second thought. We don't even, it's just so natural for us to feel that weight that we're not even aware that we're carrying it. So I think it's good when it does come to a place that it's painful. That means it's just tapping us on the shoulder and saying, do you want to keep this, or do you want to get rid of this? Do you want to do something with it? You know, it's kind of like that stuff in the corner from that closet you don't ever open that kind of pulsates. So anyway, really, really appreciate it. Ladies, our time is up. Thank you so much. I feel like I got a reboot. I hope you do too. I really loved these thoughts, and especially in May, I feel already more calm. Like when I see my kids are gonna be like, hey, mom's doing good. I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's all good. It'll get done. Love and adore you. And thank you so much. I love all of these things. This has all been so good. Such good reminders to rest, reset, and listen to that inner voice to shift what needs to shift. What? Put that on the description of this thing. That's fantastic. Kelly, be like a palm tree, flexible. People don't get bent out of shape. I love that. And you can just flex with it and release the guilt and know if you are feeding your children and loving them, it's all good, right? It's all good in the back mirror, in the rear view mirror. Love it. Ladies, love and adore you. As always, we will have this on the replay and have it in Purpose Filled Women on our Facebook group. As always, if you want to make any other suggestions or anything, feel free to come back and put those on there. Appreciate your time today and being with us. And we'll see you next time when you are living your purpose-filled life.